Hi, welcome back to my channel. I don't think I've ever done a video like this. I'm going to review the film The Unforgiven because it's so good. It is so good. I'm watching it for the second time. It's got Sandra Bullock in it, and I just really liked it. I really like, I should put some clips in this video, which I may well do, but it's really worth a watch if you enjoy a good film. It's basically about this girl called Sandra Bullock. Well, she's not called Sandra Bullock, I'm not sure what she's called in the film. It's kind of elusive at the beginning where you can kind of see someone get shot, and it's going to be a bit of a spoiler video probably. If there's any twists that I want to leave out, then I will, but it might be a bit of a spoiler in some ways. Someone gets shot and you don't really see who does it, and she is seen with some young girl. You're kind of unaware of who any of them are. You see police outside, they're trying to get her out of her house, and the police you just see someone get shot, and then it kind of flicks forward to present day, and she's sort of having a bit of a flashback. You see her leave prison because she's just done a sentence of 20 years, and you sort of see a few other characters which you're not really sure who they are. So you see her sort of move into this, it might be just like a bit of a spoiler for this film, so I just want to talk about it because I love it that much. So you kind of, it moves forward to her sort of being in this house, and she sort of is, you know, enjoying there's kind of, you know, a lot of sort of interesting characters in this house. It looks like a bit of a house that you'd come out of after prison or whatever, just sort of, which probably was. It was sort of like there's bunks, there's this girl going through her stuff, so potentially trying to rob it or something, and Sandra Bullock kind of shoves her out the way and says like, get away from my stuff and all that, just to meet up with this security guard to sort of check in with him, just to make sure, kind of like a probation sort of situation after prison, you get out. So then after that, she goes over to this random sort of house in this random field, and this family sort of looking out of this house is sort of this like secluded house where it's like a cottage, and this woman looks out from her house and sort of like notices there's like a woman in the field, and she's like asking her husband like, do you know who this woman is? So the husband goes out to look, to talk to this main character woman who's Sandra Bullock, and Sandra Bullock is sort of she's having flashbacks at this point. You can kind of see it flick back to these three characters, which clearly Sandra Bullock is one of them, but you can see her sort of like flicking back to different areas at different sort of scenes in that house. So the man comes out, and all of a sudden it flicks forward to this man, and he's like, can I help you, like, are you okay? And he's really friendly and kind of out. He's not like, get off my property, you know, which you think about it for a lot of people that like the country life, like especially if you live in that sort of secluded house, you'd probably have to like get a gun out. I understand how people have guns in really secluded areas, because you get some people, if you're going to get robbed, you need to look after yourself because no one else to do it. So anyway, so this guy comes out with a really nice personality and attitude, and he's like, can I help you, like, are you okay? Just really friendly, and she kind of answers like, yeah, I just like did some work on the house. Or obviously you don't really know what's going on. She says, oh, I've just done some work on the house, I built the hutch inside the house. And the guy's like, you can come in and see like how it all looks now if you're interested. And she's like, oh no. And then she ends up going in, and she kind of looks around, and she can see there's a couple more flashbacks, and she's then eventually like, oh, okay, I'll go now. And the guy really kind of drives her home. He mentions he's a lawyer, but he's like, what's going on, like there's something not quite right here. And she comes out with it, and she says, I used to live in that house. My sister, so you figure out the people in the house, one of the girls was her sister. My sister has we both went into the foster care system, and I don't even know if she's alive, and I just, and he mentions he's a lawyer, so and he says he'd like to help her out trying to find her, because I think at this point you don't really know what's gone on with the prison system and what's really happened. It's kind of connoted that, my media studies terminology coming into this, it's kind of referred to, is connoted even the right word? That just shows how good I was at media studies. It's kind of inferred that's a really bad word, that she shot someone or shot a police officer, because while she's in her sort of messed up house, someone rings her up and says cop killer. Another little side thing that's going on at the same time as well is that there's a couple of police officers, or I think they're both police officers, and they're brothers, I think. And I think the man that got shot, that's their sons, and they're talking about getting revenge on Sandra Bullock, who is the main character. So anyway, after all this happens, it's sort of a case of she tries to get a job. I think she ends up working in like a fishmonger's, even though she's actually a carpenter. She tries to get a job, or she's supposed to have a job, and then they turn her down for it, and they don't need her anymore. But she ends up working in a fishmonger's, and she meets this sort of like friendly, questionable looking man who's sort of trying to be kind in some way to her. It's a bit of a thing where like you can tell he's a bit of a sleazebag and he's probably after like sex, but in some ways he's probably like somewhat kind in some way anyway. But one of those questionable characters which you won't really want to associate with, because you think it's a bit like, why are you being so nice to me, sort of thing. But yeah, he's a bit questionable. He's just like one of those tall, sort of like thug looking characters, in terms of he's kind to her, and he's like, hey, like just do what we do in the fishmongers or whatever. Yeah, obviously friendly, but he comes to her place of work. I think he offers her a lift, and she's like, no, like just sort of ignores him, and he's like, okay, see you tomorrow and whatever. And you see her sort of sit with him a couple of times on the table, which is nice, but they sort of get a bit closer. But he comes to her place of work with some donuts, and she's really scared because he is just, you know, she doesn't know who it is, and she's had a phone call from someone saying cop killer on the phone. So she comes down with like a massive thing and actually almost hits him over the head with it. And he drops the donuts, and he's like, I'm sorry, I just brought you some donuts. And she's like, okay. And at that point you see her kind of let her walls down a little bit. He gives her like this jacket that he said that her jacket wasn't great, and just was like, again, I have so many like preconceived ideas about this type of person. Like, he was obviously a questionable character. He wasn't like a nice necessary. I would question the niceness. Why was he giving her a jacket? What's wrong with her jacket? If someone tried to give me a jacket and say my jacket was gross, it depends how nice the jacket was, depends who they were. But if he was that type of character, being in that situation before, I say, that's okay, you can get your jacket, kind of thing. It was like, he was trying to manipulate her because she was vulnerable, in my experience. But anyway, he gives her this jacket, and she takes the jacket. She's kind of warming up to him a bit, sort of she's putting it on, and you see them sort of spend a bit of time together. He's sort of patting her on the back a little bit. Again, why are you touching her? What do you want? Do you want to have sexual intercourse with her? She's not interested. Please move away. Thank you very much. But you see her sort of getting some comfort from it. She's sort of smiling, and you know, she's obviously been knocked around. She's been in prison for 20 years with a load of females. She's not really, I wouldn't say she's not sure about, she obviously knows what she's doing with males, but in terms of like, she's not sort of, she's old enough to know what males are like, but she seems to be getting some sort of companionship from this man, so fair enough. So anyway, moving forward, you see like the family of, I love how I'm remembering this so well, because I've watched it a second time, like halfway through the second time watching it. You see this family sort of have a conversation, which is, we kind of are a bit more clear about who the sister is now. The sister is sort of 20 years older because she's been in prison for 20 years. So the sister must be about 25. She looks a bit younger than that in the film, I'll have to say. She must be about 25. She must be 25 because I think she was 5 when the sister went to prison. She's been there for 20 years. So she's got this foster family, that's sort of, or adopted family, should I say, taken into her, you know, that's taken her into their family. And she's got this sister, or this, you know, stepsister that she's adopted with. And basically, yeah, she just, you see this family sort of be like, we've got a letter from the sister, and, you know, we don't know how to handle it because the sister's been out of the picture for so long that, you know, the sister's been out of the picture for so long, they don't think, they know she's, you know, murdered they think she's murdered someone, or they know she's murdered someone because she's been in prison for 20 years. You know, they're thinking, what good could this person do in our daughter's life? Because obviously she's their daughter, she's their adopted daughter. So they go and meet with the sister anyway, with the lawyer, because the letters come through the lawyer. And they all sit down at the table, things get aggressive. Obviously, being in the prison system for 20 years, you're going to have to be aggressive. You deal with a lot of questionable, you know, aggressive antisocial characters in prison. Her way of talking is very aggressive. Generally, she gets triggered very easily. She's obviously got some level of PTSD from trauma that's happened within that house that you keep seeing her have flashbacks from. So things kind of get heated quite quickly, but it's from a place of passion. Like, she's sort of saying, like, let her see me, and the family, like, if you had any respect you wouldn't shout at us. They're sort of not really getting the full picture. And obviously, you know, they have a right to walk away if someone started shouting at you and you're, you know, unsure about the situation anyway. And they were already going just to see what was up, but they didn't really have a good mindset about it in the first place. And they were just like, they want what's best for their daughter, and they can see a murderer. Do they want to murder any of their daughter? Of course not. So from a logical sense, it makes sense, but they were trying to do what's best for their daughter at the end of the day. So anyway, they end up walking away with no sort of resolution at that point. And the lawyer's like, well, there's nothing else I can do now. Like, that's kind of, it ends there now. And then there's a bit of a twist. That you remember the two cops I said about? I don't know if it's actually interesting to watch. I'm loving talking about it, and I need to do more like stuff like this. The two policemen that I was talking about, that were the brothers, that were sort of were involved in the in another scene that we're talking about, getting revenge. One of them found their way into her place of work and kind of disguised himself as like another worker or something when she got this other carpentry job, which she sort of managed to get hold of, and it wasn't arranged previously. And anyway, this guy then, one of the police officers, found out about her daughter and managed to follow. So another little thing was that the daughter's sister, like foster sister, the one that was part of the original family, or could have been another foster sister, to be fair, who knows, was then went to go and meet Sandra Bullock in the park because the foster sister went through some letters that Sandra Bullock had sent her from prison, because Sandra Bullock was trying to contact the sister and the foster family the entire time she was in prison for 20 years. So the sister then got hold of all the letters, went to meet Sandra Bullock because she knew who she was at that point, kind of let her in to where she was going to have this piano recital. So you then think, oh, Sandra Bullock's going to be able to meet her sister at the piano recital. Oh no, there's a twist. And then one of the police officers comes across thinking that the sister of the sister, so not Sandra Bullock's sister, the foster sister that was involved with the family, was then Sandra Bullock's sister. So he takes her and kidnaps her and puts her in this room with a gun, calls Sandra Bullock and says, I have your sister, you better come here now, because he basically wants revenge because his father was killed by Sandra Bullock, or so he thinks, because she's been in prison for 20 years. So then they basically, he lets her go eventually, because he's like, I will do what you did to my dad, and she's like, please don't do this, like, you can't take it back being a murderer myself, I know, like, you know, you can't take that sort of thing back, like, once it's done, you can never get over the guilt, you can never get over the grief, you can never get over anything, it's, you know, it's done. And so he kind of chickens out last minute, and I say chickens out last minute, he sort of lets it all go, and lets them both go. But I think the police turn up at the same time, so I think he's taken away to prison or whatever, because he sort of kidnapped someone and threatened to kill them, which is obviously an offence. So then I think on the last scene or something like that, you see the real daughter of Sandra Bullock in the background by all the police cars come up to Sandra Bullock, and randomly, and she has no idea who she is, she just walks up to her and she's like this, and she just hugs her, and she has no idea who she is. Like, how crazy is that? Like, you just have that instant connection with someone that you don't you know, I've looked at things like twin flames and soul connections. People talk about it's a narcissistic lie and you just never know who someone is. My battery's about to run out. But like, what the hell is that about? I need to end this video because it's going to stop filming in a sec. But yeah, that's basically the end, I think. And I started crying after it because I was like, oh my god, it's so worth a watch. I'm going to have to go because my video's about to stop recording, but please watch it. It is so good. I'm going to do more reviews like this because that was so much fun. Thanks, bye.